Today's lesson is all about understanding the difference between hardware, such as the keyboard, and software, such as Microsoft Office. You should be able to identify what are the input, output and storage devices related to a computer and name some different types of software. Also be able to suggest which would be the best input and output devices for a particular scenario. Inputs is where information is brought in to the computer. Things such as sound coming in to the computer. Process is where we process that information and we treat it as data. Output is anything that comes out of the computer. When you think of the word hardware, think about things that you can actually touch that are on the computer, such as disk drives, display screens, keyboards, printers, and so on. Even the chips inside the computer are hardware. Software, on the other hand, are the things that you can't touch, such as the program that runs Microsoft Windows or music that's stored inside a computer. An output device is something that takes information that's in the computer and brings it out for the user to be able to access. An example of an output device might be a printer, where the information is printed and then it comes out of the computer and then the user is able to use it. Another example might be the screen. So the screen that you're looking at now, that is an output device and it is outputting information visually for you to see. An input device is where information is being taken from the user and being put into the computer. So it goes in to the input as an input device. So an example might be your keyboard. So you type on the keyboard, you press the keys, and then that sends a message into the computer that certain letters and numbers and symbols should be displayed. So that information is going into the computer. What other devices can you think of that make information go in and come out of the computer? The final thing we want to look at is the storage. So if something is kept for some time, then it needs to be stored. So if the computer is going to be switched off, we need somewhere to store that. Places that we can store that are CDs and DVDs, USB sticks, hard drives. These are all called storage devices. Look at these input, output and storage devices and see which ones you think they are. Some are quite easy to spot. There's a keyboard. A keyboard, you are typing information in to the computer, so that would be an input device. Printer. The printer, this would definitely be an output device because the information is coming from the computer out to the user. The mouse would also be an input device because you click and record where you are on the screen. You also use the scroll button to provide input, so that's an input device. The headphones and the speakers would both be output devices because sound is coming out of the computer to the user. The little round device at the bottom is a webcam, similar to the ones that we have integrated into the computers that you're sitting at. It takes a picture of you and it puts it in to the computer. That makes it an input device. You can see there is a CD here. We store data and music on CDs. That makes it a storage device. We also have a USB stick on the right hand side, and this again is a storage device and it stores data in a slightly different way. You might not recognise it straight away, but the next storage device we have is a magnetic hard drive. It's just that it's had its lid taken off. It looks a little bit like a CD inside, but it's actually got magnetism that helps store the data. Our final storage device is a SIM card. You probably have one of these in your phone, and it stores not only your phone information, but also things like photographs and data about how you are able to access the network. The final device is a bit of a tricky one. It would seem obvious that the screen is an output device. It takes information from the computer and it presents it on the screen for the user to use, so it's coming out of the computer. But if you use the screens that you're using, you'll see that they're touch screens. As it's a touch screen, that means that it's taking information from the touch sensors and putting them into the computer. So a screen could be both an input and an output device. All the pictures at the bottom represent different things that are software. They can be applications such as games or things that we use for productivity such as Google Teams. You may have used one of these automated checkout devices when you have been to the supermarket. It has lots of different inputs and outputs and lots of devices that allow us to put information into the computer and for it to send information out. So an example of an input might be that there's a weighing scales for if we wanted to weigh some fruit and vegetable that we'd bought. We can put that, and it's often on the little tray where we put our groceries, and you can weigh the different things. So that would be an input device because it's weighing it and then it's recording that weight and putting it into the device. An output might be the voice that says, please now put that in your bag. So that's an output. The speaker would be the device and the output would be the sound that comes out. So the speaker would be an output device. What other inputs, outputs and storage things can you think of? So remember that it's the device that we're looking for. What devices do you use to get information in to the checkout, and what devices send information out for you? Now let's discuss this as a group and come up with a list of inputs and outputs. So for instance, in this example, we can see that there is actually a card reader. So putting the card in would allow the card reader to read the magnetic strip or the chip that's in the card, and that would be an input device because it is putting information in to the computer. The other way in which that we might put information in is you can see that the card reader has a pin device. So that allows us to use the pin to confirm that it is our card. Most card readers now allow you to just tap and it will read the chip using a device that scans it in when it's very, very close to the card reader. And so that's yet another way we can get information in to the computer. Now discuss as a group what are the different inputs and outputs that you got when you shared as pairs.